Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
I still seem to be having high readings in the morning. The lowest I've had out of all of it is 6.1, but averaging around about 11.8, 10.8.
Oh, I can hear Zona. She's
Michelle.
Not it's not me. Or is it Michelle? So have we muted everybody now, Jace, or do you want me to do that?
If I do that, 1 second, there we go. And that's probably muted us as well. Oh, has it? No.
Yeah, that did mute us. I've just taken myself back off. Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see your faces. We have got 2 minutes left until we get everybody in, so we're just waiting for those, or 1 minute now actually. We're just waiting to see if there's any final.
Oh, am I coming through loud and clear?
Oh, you are, Gaynor. Yes, you are. You just need to pop yourself on mute, my dear, please, just so that we can
it for you.
Just so that we can minimise any background noise with so many on. This is a slightly smaller group this afternoon, which is great. We had over 100 join us this morning, and it was a little bit like the Benny Hill show at points. Rad's system failed, didn't it, Rad? Kiwi was running around the waterfront to try and find Rad, and it was all a bit bonkers, but we got there in the end. So let's just see if we've got. So we've just got Claire. Are you going to manage the lobby then, Jace?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. So it is 2 o'clock promptly. So let me now just change. So folks, you should now be able to see the presentation slides. I'm guessing that everybody, Gaynor, you're the only person. Yeah, you can. That's great, Jace. Thank you. So, so super. Okay, I think we will start then. And just before we kick off this afternoon, we've just got a very short video to play, just whilst we're waiting to see if there's any last-minute stragglers that are arriving. So good afternoon. I think we have got the final people in now, so we will start today's session. So before we say anything today, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of our PTAs who are joining us. And you know, we've also got people joining us from our admin and customer care teams, and also from the wider support teams. We've even got James from Coho here joining us this afternoon. So thank you to everybody for your time and for everything that you've done in the last 6 months. It has been probably the most challenging in the history of travel, and today we wanted to do this session and this conference to really try to re-look now at what we do moving forward and give you all the information and the facts that you need to start reviving your businesses. So in today's session, there's going to be an introduction. We'll do a short introduction on how to make the most out of your online conference over the next 3 days. We've got a message from Phil Ponsonby, our group CEO. Phil would have loved to have joined us personally. When we put this date in, he did already have something in his diary, unfortunately, but he has done a video message for everybody today, and he did in fact join our Homework Aboard last week as well for a Q&A session. So he's joining us via video today. We're then passing over to the lovely Rad, who will talk a bit about mid-counties and our travel group as a whole, and then we'll look at the detail in PTA and how what's some of the detail of what's happened over the last 6 months, and indeed how we now start to revive our businesses. So let's just look at how best to make the best out of your experience on your virtual conference over the next 3 days. So we would recommend that you join on laptop for your sessions, because there are slides that have got some details in that you may find difficult to see on a phone. You do need to arrive on time to all the sessions. Thank you very much today, everybody, for arriving on time. It's great. The reason behind that is often in the first 5 minutes of the presentations, we have essential information that gives the backdrop to the rest of the presentation, and it's difficult to necessarily understand everything that's going on if you haven't heard the start of it. You will be able to see on your Teams screens, you'll all be used to it from webinars and the PTA bar, etc. This panel. So if you want to ask a question at any point, you can click on the speech bubble and type that in there. And you will all have your microphones with a line through them showing that you're mute. Lovely to see lots of your faces. You can have your video on or off today. That's your choice. You know, but it's lovely to see so many of you having it on. We're recommending, and I would really urge you to try to switch off for the next hour to hour and a half, depending on how long the questions are. You know, what we want to do is try and get some focus back, and just to dedicate some of your time to finding out what's going on, and understanding how best you know, all the tools at your disposal for the future. And then look out for the email survey and the question after the session. That will be with you by close of business today. You just need to rate the session, give us any feedback, and answer the question, and then that will tick the box to go to into the criteria as one of your 6 sessions towards maintenance free in September. So let's just have a look at the next 3 days briefly. We have got we've got 7 workshop sessions that are repeated several times. You should all by now have completed your JOT form, and have your sessions booked in. You will receive meeting requests for each of those sessions from the people that are running them. Those will all be with you before 4 o'clock today. So if after 4 o'clock today you, for whatever reason, don't have all your sessions, you just need to drop Stacey an email, and she will have a look at that for you and make sure you get added in if necessary. But coming up, we have got Revive You and Your Business with Claire and Carol, and that's a session that will inject you with motivation and remind you why you love this crazy world of travel, even though after the last 6 months, I'm sure a lot of you have fallen out with it, out of love with it on several occasions. But that's all about you and your mindset and your thinking, and really sort of going back to basics from that side of things. Jason's going to be unleashing the power of Teams. So here we are using Teams for our virtual conference, which is fantastic. But you can use it for your personal customer appointments, as an example. So Jason's going to be going through all of that in his session. We've got making bookings in the new normal with Anna that is happening. We've got Coho, presented obviously by the lovely James. We've got T-profile and getting personal, also how to make spectacularly beautiful quotes with Claire. The marketing bounce back with Kiri and Donna about all things marketing and how you re-engage with customers and talk to them during these different times to what we're used to. And then back to basics with Atoll, and that's with Jason and Anna, and that's all about how to increase your margin and just make more money in these times where earnings are precious for everybody, so every pound counts. We also have 2 lunchtime panels. So on Wednesday the 16th, that's tomorrow, we have a supplier partner panel where we've got Alan Cross, Lisa Smith, Nick Hughes and Alistair joining us. That's going to be moderated by Mark, who heads up commercial, as you know. And the lunchtime panels are designed so that you can literally go and grab your lunch, and whilst you're eating it, you can just sit and watch, the panel and, hear the answers to the questions. You'll have had the email through, so if you want to submit any questions, then you can do so by 5 o'clock today for those panels. In addition, we have on Thursday, our lunchtime panel is our own colleagues, both from a PTA perspective and from some of our support teams. So we've got Anna, who's been a PTA with us for 4 years and a member of our home worker board. We've got Joe Saunders, who is back by popular demand after last year's panel over in Cyprus. We've got Laura joining us, who's been a PTA for just 18 months, and what an 18 months that's been with Thomas Cook and now the pandemic. So a real story of resilience there. And we've also got Anna, who you all know well after the last 6 months in particular, and also Claire, our new BDM, who joined us at the beginning of this pandemic. So there's the panel for Thursday. And again, similar, you can submit the questions on the email you've had today by 5 o'clock. And then join us with your lunch and tune in on Thursday. So that's all about your virtual conference. So now what I'm going to do is play the video that Phil has sent through to us. So make sure your sound is up and just relax for the next 4 minutes.
Hello, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I hope you're having a good virtual conference. I just wanted to take some time out to say on behalf of the Society, firstly, thank you. I know it's been a really challenging year for you and the whole of the travel industry, and I know from our own businesses, and look, we're running businesses in food and childcare nurseries and funeral services, so a variety of different businesses. But when I look at the operational side of things, I can see that it's our travel business where it's been toughest. And I think because, you spend a lot of time building up relationships with clients who book holidays in good faith, and then having spent the last 6 or 7 months probably spending most of your time either rebooking or cancelling holidays. And that's a difficult time for anyone. And I appreciate how challenging that is. So I just wanted to say to you, as our really important group of personal travel agents, thank you for your support and your patience, and we really do appreciate how difficult it's been, and hopefully we can continue to do whatever we can to help you through this, what we hope is a relatively short-term period of disruption. I think looking ahead, none of us really know what is ahead, and the only certain thing is uncertainty, and with obviously the ongoing government intervention and policy changes, it's very difficult for any of us to plan in businesses and look ahead in terms of how we see the future. It was a great pleasure for me last week to spend some time with your fellow PTAs on the Home Worker Board, your elected representatives. And I asked them how they saw next year on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of positivity, and it was great to hear how positive they are about next year and grabbing every opportunity that they can. And I certainly think that's how we see it as well. And whilst we expect the rest of this year to be very difficult in terms of the ongoing challenges with the pandemic, and then of course the impacts of redundancies and the wider economic impacts that we're all going to feel. I think, my feeling is that people will always want to travel, and the first chance they get to do that, and they feel safe to do it, and they feel that they can do that without it being curtailed or restricted by government intervention, I think people will book. So I do think that looking ahead, there is a positive outcome. And of course, for all of us, we can't really control markets, but we can control the market share that we have within those markets. And I think your relationship with your clients and perhaps our trusted brand as well, and the combination of those factors bodes well for us in the future. So the other thing I wanted to do is really just to assure you, and of course, I know that Alistair Rowland has recently moved on to become the CEO of Blue Bay Travel, but that doesn't signify a change in direction for us as far as our commitment to our travel business. Quite the opposite. We're as committed as we've ever been. I see it as a really important business area for our membership. And I think the opportunity for us with yourselves is to work on a more integrated basis. And I recognise that you have clients that you've brought to this operation, and they're your clients, and you're using our terms and systems to provide them with the services that you do. But also, I think as we develop our own business and we want to sell a wider range of packages through our cooperative holidays business, but also as our customers come forward with more specialist and more interesting requirements, we very much see you as a group of people that can help us with that and to provide those services. So I think there's great opportunity for us to work on a more integrated way in the future. That's why we appointed Neil Hardy to come in as our head of omni-channel development. That allows us to think about how we use online and branches and your network more effectively in the future. And if we do that well, I think there's good business to be had by all of us. So I just wanted to say to you that we're fully committed to you as a group of people. We'll do everything we can to help you to develop your businesses and thrive, particularly next year and beyond, and recognising that it's very difficult at the moment. And there are certain things we can do, but of course we're all restricted by what we can and can't do. But certainly looking ahead, I think there's a great opportunity for us and for you. And I'm keen, as I know Sheena and Rad are, to hear from you about any ideas you have about how we can work more closely together, how we can help your businesses thrive, because that's great for all of us. So I hope you have a great session today. Once again, thank you for your patience, commitment. We really do appreciate it, and the whole board here at Mid Counties Cooperative do. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your session.
So that's the message from Phil, and now I'm going to pass over to Rad, who joins us today. Can you hear us okay, Rad? Oh, I think you might be on mute.
I know, I said I can hear you, but I didn't think you could hear me. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. So no scarf today, I'm afraid. So in this morning's session, we had questions of where's the scarf? I didn't use the B word once, and that's going to be the same again through this session. So although I'm sure we've all used it plenty of times over this last 6 months. So welcome everybody. It's lovely to see you all virtually, if not in person. And who would have thought 6 months ago we'd be doing this? It's just incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. So Sheena, do you want to move on to the first slide?
Yeah.
Thank you. So 2020, a year we will never forget. So 6 months ago, our world changed, as we all know. And in fact, for us in travel, as we said, or as I think Sheena said, 12 months ago, really, it's nearly another week, and it's to the day that our world changed with Thomas Cook going, and it's just been a really, really hard slog. I think we probably had 1 month of a half decent, normal month in January, and the rest of it has been a big challenge. So thank you, first of all, from me for all your hard work and for your perseverance, your endurance and your resilience more than anything, because it has been such a challenge over these last few months. So what did the society do when COVID started? So I just thought I'd give you a bit of a quick update. So we had daily COVID calls, even on weekends. So every single day we'd get together with other areas of the society to review actions, progress, share learnings. And that's, I guess, the benefit of being part of a cooperative, is that, you know, when it came to PPE and whatever, our food stores had already been doing it. When, you know, we're looking at our waterfront, Warwick had already started looking at how we're going to return to the offices. So, you know, we have got a benefit of being part of the society. The calls have now reduced to once a week, but we still get together, and it's a really important part of how we move forward. Colleague and customer safety was a priority. So Waterfront closed, as you all know, and our colleagues have been working from home. They were set up immediately in a seamless way. Hopefully you've all enjoyed that and enjoyed the same sort of levels of service that you had previously from us. Today we have a combination of work from home and back in the Waterfront. So I'm here today in the Waterfront, and we come here a varied number of times. You know, we all come and as appropriate, really, but safety is still our main priority. So we launched our plan as well of Survive, Revive and Thrive. Survive was to really get us through to the end of June. So what did we have to do just to make sure that, you know, everything safety first, and, you know, we traded through that period of time as best we could, particularly in the other areas of the society. Where food really enjoyed a really buoyant few months, which helps everybody all round. Revive is now to the end of the financial year, so it was due to be sort of Revive. We originally thought we thought it would be probably September, October, and I think we're still in Revive. So Thrive is not going to probably come in, and certainly for us until next year. But we've already started our planning. And our longest term strategy planning for the next 5 years, and that's what Thrive is all about. It's not a quick fix of what's going to happen next year. It's really about looking to the future. So just to remind ourselves, we are part of a society. We're not just a travel company. We are your co-op, and we have the strength of the other trading divisions and the backing of the society to support us through these difficult times. And they are difficult. We're already making some difficult decisions. Particularly in our retail division. Some of you may know, you may have colleagues or friends that you've worked with in the past, but that's where a lot of our cost is from the travel group. So in terms of personnel and in terms of premises, etc. So we're having to still, even though we are part of the society, and, you know, obviously we've got these other areas, we still have to play our part. We still, you know, need to make the right decisions. And it is going to be a really difficult year for us. So we will make losses this year. It'll be the first time in the travel group, I think, for a very long time, that it will be loss making. But that's the same as the rest of the industry. I guess the main point being that we are not just a travel division. We are also part of the society, and that certainly helps in these difficult times. So I'm not going to go through all the actions of Survive, Revive and Thrive, but I just wanted to show you, I guess, the overarching statement of what we put in there as a holding point, which is that many aspects of the travel industry are anticipated to change, not least legislation. There are going to be lots of changes in the industry. We're already seeing lots of changes. We're seeing failures. We're seeing, you know, even every week, every day, there's something, you know, in terms of breaking news. On the beach, leaving ABTA after a long time. You know, there's a lot of things that are changing all the time, and it will change the way we are. But equally, with uncertainty around the length of the time that the industry will take to recover. So Mintel report says that we will recover to last year's levels in 2024, and that's in terms of departures, the amount of people that may travel during those months. That's the latest report. But obviously bookings will probably be ahead of that, so we expect it to be sooner than that. But it is going to take some time for things to fully recover. But the way travel companies respond to the challenges will see the strong emerge stronger, with the weak exposed or diminished, and we will see some of those changes. We will build on the strength of our brand, demonstrated through our brand values, to support our colleagues, members, customers and partners, and our personal travel agents there, being very important in that, with careful management, and making sure we're ready to take advantage of any positive changes that happen in the market. So we see these times as an opportunity for you guys, as much as it is a challenge, and we need to be ready for it. the society supports travel, and just as an example of that, you know, the board wouldn't have approved the transfer of the Central England shops. So I don't know whether you all saw, but we had 16 shops move over to us on the 8th of August. So we now have 71 shops in total. But the board approved that move, and if they didn't believe in travel and that the travel industry will bounce back, they wouldn't have approved that. So, you know, it does demonstrate the level of confidence that this is, you know, that the industry isn't broken. This is and I wouldn't say short-term thing, because we don't know how long this is going to go for, but things will get back to normal. It is a pandemic. This isn't about the industry. So customers will return, people will always want to travel, and even more so. So I'm sure you all watched 9/11 last week, you know, and we all, those of us that were around in the industry at that time, remember, you know, how difficult that was at the time and how uncertain it was, but also how quickly confidence returned once things settled down. So, you know, we believe that it's going to be the same, and we see this therefore as an opportunity, particularly for you guys. So I just wanted to show you as well how the society is doing overall. So if we just move on to the next slide, Sheila. Thank you. So just in terms of performance year to date, so this is as at P6, which is the end of July for us, our half year. So food retail have had a really great start to the year. So they're 15.5% up year on year, and they're 2% up on forecast, because obviously we knew that they would be having a better time of it. So we forecasted them to be even better than what their original budget was. So where in these times there have been winners and losers, and food, which represents the greatest part of the society's turnover and profit, fortunately, has had a very good time of it. So they're doing very well. And on this whole spreadsheet, or on the screen, sorry, you'll see lots of greens and yellows, and this is against forecast. So this is when we in April would have been looking at it and saying, right, what do we now think it's going to look like? So even though travel, you can see in the top right hand corner, is all green, and you're probably all thinking, it's green, how can that be? This is against our forecast. So this is what we expected, where we expected to be as at the end of July, and we have come in where we expected to be. For the rest of the year, well, obviously August was a challenging month with Spain coming off, and that massively affected things. So we'll just have to see how the rest of the year pans out. But childcare have been a little bit more challenged, so they're 4% down on their forecast. Obviously, they were affected very much like the schools. So with occupancy in some of the nurseries not where they would have liked it to be. But pharmacy is up, and funeral is up as well. So overall, you know, the society is actually in a better position financially at the moment than it was this time last year. And this time last year, if you remember, we were having lots of challenges with energy. Energy is now moved over into our utilities division, and by the end of this year, we should actually be clear of all of our energy commitments as well. So from a society point of view, it's not too bad considering the environment that we are in. Okay. So challenges. So industry challenges. I mean, we know them all. I mean, we're not going to go in through it all because we live and breathe them every single day. But there are some challenges that are coming up, I think, for the industry that that present an opportunity for you as well. So as much as all those things on there look like they're negatives, furlough is coming to an end soon, and for some that is going to be a massive decision for some companies as to whether they keep those colleagues or they actually can't afford to return them. So there will be opportunities out there for you to pick up business, because, you know, Atoll and ABTA renewals are coming up. Atoll renewals are end of September, and we always know that's a difficult time because that's when Thomas Cook went, that's when Monarch went. You know, it's always a challenge at this time of the year. So we've seen some smaller failures, well, not even, you know, such small failures. Obviously, we've seen Shearings and some of the other companies go, and even in the last week, you know, Destinology and Trek America, it just feels like it's becoming the norm. But I do think the next sort of month or so, we will need to stay close to it, because, you know, there may be other casualties, but also that may apply also to other agents. I've had calls just in the last couple of weeks myself. So I think you know, there will be opportunities for you, and the main thing is that you are still here, and you need to shout about the fact that you're still here. Make sure everyone knows it, and make sure if the people are thinking about holidays that you are there front of mind for them. So that's what this whole conference is about as well, is to help and support you to be able to do that. So that's that. Should we move on to the next one? So what's coming up? Phil mentioned there about Alistair. Alistair left us the end of August, and how rude. But he is still with us in terms of the consortium. He's the chief exec of Blue Bay. Blue Bay are the largest member of our consortium. So we haven't got rid of him completely. We still obviously see him or keep in touch with him as well through his non-exec role for travel as well. So he has got a role to spend at least 18 days of a year with us as well. So supporting us with his experience and knowledge, particularly with ABTA as well. So that's great. But we are looking to recruit a new chief retail officer. And the role will be for travel and leisure. So where Alistair's role previously included the other trading groups, so some of the other trading groups, including childcare, healthcare, funeral, etc. The new role won't be that. It will just be travel and leisure. So we'll be really interested to see how the leisure part especially develops, because I think that is something that's very exciting and again could present opportunities for you going forward. More news on that as and when that comes available. And omni-channel development is where we are looking at all the touch points for travel especially, but for the society as well, and how we can service our members especially better going forward, and who the right people are to deal with them in the right situations. So I'm sure that also will present opportunities your way as we work through that. That's part of our Thrive program that we'll be looking at over the coming months, and yeah, very exciting times ahead with that. But I wanted to leave you really with two things. For me, you know, the next few months are going to be difficult. There's no way around that. Winter months are always quieter for us. We know that. To get us through to peaks, and what will peaks look like when it comes around anyway. So we expect it to be less than last year, naturally. For summer 21, most of the larger operators are about 20% less on capacity now. So Jet2 and TUI have already reduced their capacities for summer 21. And then, of course, we've got lots of people who have already booked a holiday for some, or have a holiday booked for summer 21 that may have booked in January previously. So we need to get through these next few months and have as strong a January as possible. So the message, I guess, is be strong now, because things will get better. And it might be stormy now, but it can't rain forever. And I think, you know, that is the message. Is we know as soon as things, you know, improve, whether that's, you know, testing at airports, whether that's having a vaccine or whatever it may be, that the pent-up demand will return and you will thrive once more. So it's just about making sure you get through these difficult times as best you possibly can. And within crisis are the seeds of opportunity. So look for the opportunities, make sure you're out there, shout loud and proud. Because, you know, even if you're not getting the bookings today, it's just about making your presence known so that people remember you for when they are looking for a holiday in the future. You're a fantastic personal travel agents. You're the best out there. We 100% believe that, and we're very, very proud to have you as part of our Mid-Counties Co-op, and we're here. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you over these next few days. We're always here for you. You've got your team here as well, Sashina and the fabulous team at PTAs that will support you through whatever you need. And as Phil said on his video, you know, any suggestions, any other support that you need, then please shout up. And I think that's it. Thank you. Big thank you from me.
Thank you. Oh, I've got a bit of feedback. Could you just put yourself on mute, please, Rad?
Yeah.
I don't
Yes,
know if everybody can hear me twice. So, oh, that's better. Fantastic. Thank you. So thank you to Rad and also to Phil for his video, and Rad for her, you know, her insight into what's going on in travel. And I think, you know, now let's move on and look specifically at PTA as a business and understand, you know, let's understand the facts, and let's look at what we have, you know, what we think will happen for the future. I've amended my title, as you would have seen. Proud to be head of the most brilliant and dedicated personal travel agents in the UK. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's very real. And I think, you know, we couldn't be prouder of how everybody has conducted themselves, of how you have, over the last 6 months, wrapped your arms around your customers in really tough circumstances and cared for them. And that's not always been easy. I get that, with refunds and everything else being as they have been. But thank you again for everything that you've done during that time. So let's take a step back, not that we want to remember it again and again, but here's the timeline of what has happened this year. So January, we start to get headlines from China. February, our first cases in the UK of COVID-19. And then March, April, May, June in lockdown as the UK sort of, you know, tries to ward off the full extent of COVID-19. During that time, our waterfront offices moved to home, and you know, we managed to keep the business operating pretty much at full capacity by doing that, which was really great to see. July, we saw lockdown ease, the skies opened, holidays restarted. Kiri and myself jetted off to Malta to see what it was like, in the hope that that would just boost everything, and it did for about a week or 2 weeks. And then we saw the quarantine Russian roulette start to, as we're calling it, come in, and you know, which destabilized the lates market. You know, and then here we are in September. How on earth have we got here? It just has felt like the longest time, hasn't it? But September, the schools have reopened. You can see that initial nervousness. You've got people worrying that children are sick now, loads of tests going on, lots of nervousness and anxieties around the schools, as I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing with your children yourselves. In a nutshell, what a blooming mess, isn't it? I mean, you could never have second guessed what this year was going to throw at us. We're calling it the Corona coaster. It's been hard, it's been fast, and there's been moments where I'm sure we've all thought we're not coming out of that loop the loop. It's just been spinning out of all control. But we have, and we're here. And I think as a nation as well, we also started to see great glimpses of positive, because you know, the UK did start to, you know, as the lockdown happened, but the UK, what did we do? We started clapping for the NHS, that amazingly bonding and sort of experience every week, where everybody just saw each other and said thank you. From a PTA perspective, we've rolled up our sleeves, everybody's got involved, you've all been helping each other out. You know, from a head office waterfront perspective, everybody's been doing things that they wouldn't normally do and getting involved, and we've been prioritising where we need to. Throughout all of this, I'm saying look for the stars and the rainbows to find the opportunities. You know, customers in lockdown started to book. They started to dream, didn't they? They started to think about what's going to happen when this is all over. I know what the first thing I want to do is, and I want to go on holiday. And they started to book, which was great. And I think we've seen over the last 6 months the team camaraderie in PTA just at an all-time high. The gestures of goodwill and help and support that are shared in the virtual office have just been astounding, and none more so than recently, when, you know, as a team of people who haven't earned an awful lot, if anything, over the last 6 months. It just took one post from Sarah Davis in the virtual office to talk about how they were going to do a small collection for Cadec out in Bali. for his family, who relies purely on tourists arriving in Bali. And before we knew it, over £600 had been raised, and he's now in a position where his life is transformed from that. His wife's not having to go from door to door, selling her what she's baked, and they've managed to reunite with the rest of their family. And that for me is just one example of how Team PTA have been, you know, just clubbed together, rolled their sleeves up, and, you know, and the great things that have happened, even though it's not felt like it all of the time. I know that, you know, but the great things that have happened from the camaraderie over the last 6 months. So you know, when you look at a field of dandelions, you are either going to see hundreds of weeds or thousands of wishes. All of you will have been in different places across the last 6 months. You could have been seeing weeds on one day and wishes on the next. And I suppose my point here is that everybody has been in their own small boat in this gigantic storm, and everybody's journey has been very different because of your perspective. So what I'm going to ask you now to do over the next sort of half an hour is just to park that perspective, park how you're feeling at the moment, because what I'm going to do first of all is show you some facts. And these are the facts of what has actually happened, and what has happened, and what is happening in our business, so that you can form your opinions around that. And then we're going to start looking at what the future can look like, and what I'm calling the new PTA normal. And that's our story to write. You know, we can either sit here and say that's it, we're done, you know, and after all everybody's tenacity over the last 6 months, that would be criminal if we did that now. But equally, we don't want to be sitting here feeling anxious and like the world's going to come to an end very quickly over the next 6 months, because we want to see hope, don't we? And I'm really sure that in what I'm going to show you today, which is fact, it's not just me being positive, it is facts, that you will hopefully see that there is hope and that there is lots that can bring a really bright future. So let's look at some of these facts then. Over the last 6 months, you have rebooked 2,444 customers. That's taken an awful lot of work from you all. You've saved $500,000 of your earnings by doing those rebooks, and some of you have even actually increased margins on your rebooks where you've been taking out discounts and things like that. So we've seen some great successes from that side of things. On the adverse to that, you've cancelled 4,284 bookings. That's lost £870,000 worth of earnings. And I know that you've all been feeling that, and we are here to do everything we can to try and support you now rebuilding that. But you're actually doing a really good job of that already, in the fact that you've booked during this time 7,235 new bookings, putting another 835,000 of earnings in the pot for the future. So you've nearly sort of cancelled out some of the losses that you've made, and it could have been an awful lot worse, and those new bookings have really been what has kept, you know, I think everybody going and building those pots for the future. During the last 6 months, there's been blood, sweat and tears in those numbers, from you know, a PTA perspective and from a waterfront perspective as well. And again, once again, you know, thank you for that. PTA today sits here with the biggest forward commission pot that we've ever had. So that is your earnings for next year that are still there and are still secured, and that's really encouraging. We're making progress with refunds. So out of 2,277 bookings departing March and April, we'd have just 74 refunds left. And for May and June, you can see we've got 164 left. Though that 74 and 164 are each you know, in their own right, still need a lot of our time and attention. As you will know, we've recently agreed to refund all the March and April as long as we've got the right documentation on the files. So we've been working through that, and Anna and the team have been doing a really great job. And then we're moving now on as well to the May and June to work through those 164 and just understand what we can do to get those refunded as quickly as possible. It's not been easy. There's been times in those early months where we didn't know. If you remember the first time you heard about an RCN, what is it? What will it do? How am I going to talk to my customers about it? And all of this has just become absolute, you know, day-to-day language now, and you know, and it's been through a really difficult time. So I'm going to now show you, I promise this is the one and only chart in this presentation, but I really think you will find it really interesting with some of what is on it. So we've got 3 lines here. Let me explain those. The top blue one is the number of bookings we did last year in 2019. The green one shows new bookings this year, and the orange one shows your COVID-19 rebooks. So let's just have a look at some of what this is telling us. If we go back to week 1 here, which is that sort of last week of January, first week of February, this year we were doing more bookings than we've done in the history of PTA. And we had a little blip there, but then carried on doing really, really well right up until sort of towards the end of February, when COVID really started to hit the news. And as you can see from last year's numbers, we always see some kind of a drop off. But the drop off this year we saw really did, you know, come right down to less than 100 bookings in a week, which is, you know, unheard of. So this is where lockdown started. You'll make that'll be no surprise to you, and this is where we start to see our COVID-19 rebooks. Of course, you had that big peak in the beginning, and then consistently from there on in. This area here is interesting in that it's where that's where the skies opened. And sort of some faith for a couple of weeks there started to be reinstated, and then this is where the Spanish quarantine starts. And you can see that that then meant that it didn't destroy it completely, but it did take a lot of stock out of the market, and B, consumer confidence did weaken at that point. But the good point here is that it started to recover again. And if you came onto this call today, you know, if I said to you, well, this is where we were last week on this year's bookings, and this was last year, you wouldn't believe how small a space that is between the two, I'm sure. A couple of other things to be mindful of. This area where we went into lockdown, if you remember, we did Kiri issued the customer survey, and we listened to what customers told us at that point. Tom the Traveller was developed. You were all sharing him. We had travel related pubs quizzes, we had mindful travel related colouring, all the what we were calling soft marketing, that just meant that you were still in touch with your customers. You weren't trying to sell to them, you were just saying, I'm here, and if this helps out with lockdown, then here you go. And I think customers generally, we had some fantastic feedback from that, and generally they really appreciated that. When we got to this area here, we started seeing bookings start. So they increased one week, then they increased the next, then they increased the next. And we were like, hang on a minute, we're starting to see a lot of new bookings come in. So we had the week where Mr. T came up trumps with his Barcelona deals, his Tivat deals, and also the Budapest. And we just went with short breaks that week, and you can see the impact that had. So you all started sharing those offers. We had this big peak in bookings for the week that just showed that consumers would book. They're sat there in lockdown with their phones, and they want to dream. They want to have something to look forward to, and this showed it. Then social media from that point started to take over. For the first time in our history, we were getting more bookings from social media than any other source. And so what have we learned from this? We've learned that you know, social media during lockdown is the place to be. You've got to stay in touch with your customers. We sold during that time over £1 million worth of Muriel offers. So, and that be it from Jason's offers or from the Coho offers that were coming through and being advertised as well. And I think, you know, this proved to us, like I said, that customers did want to book and they did want something to look forward to. And it also proves to us that they're not going to stop going on holiday. When Rad was saying, and Phil has been saying, you know, the industry isn't fundamentally broken. It is, you know, it's like some customers have pressed pause, but it's not broken. Every time we see these dips within 2 or 3 weeks, we see it start to recover. So the quarantine hits 2-3 weeks, we see it start to recover. The demand is there and people do want to go on holiday. And if you think back to where we were around this sort of area, you know, at the beginning of all this, when the skies opened, you know, customers would never have dreamed of, you know, they didn't want to go to Greece because they didn't want to have a test potentially when they arrived at the airport. They certainly weren't going to go to Cyprus because they'd have to pay for a test. And now all of these things are becoming the norm, or the temporary norm, aren't they? Indeed, now we've got the quarantine lists and people are starting to travel, you know, even if they have to quarantine when they get home. I myself have decided to do that for my holiday next week, where we head to Crete. I'm going to quarantine when I get back. And I think, you know, you can now get insurance for this, and it is, you know, becoming the norm, isn't it? And I think the important thing is that we adapt and just make sure that we're offering customers what is then relevant. So what have we learned during this time? We need to let our customers guide us. And, you know, they've loved Tom the Traveller, they've loved pub quizzes, but they also told us in those early surveys about what their booking habits would be. Kiri and Jason and the team have homed in on that, and done and curated the offers as a result of what customers are telling us, and that's where we've had our successes. I've been speaking to tour operators, you know, throughout this, you know, the last 6 months. And it's incredible how many I spoke to in the middle of lockdown that were doom and gloom, and they're saying, well, you know, of course, you know, nobody's booking. And I'm saying, oh, well, hang on a minute, you know, actually people are booking. And I think the connections and the relationships you have with your customers has really, you know, bolstered that. We've learned that we're a resilient bunch. My goodness, I don't think we could have been tested in any harsher circumstances. And despite everything, as I've said, the industry isn't broken. We do know, though, that change needs to happen, and all the lobbying and everything that is going on behind the scenes with all the governing bodies. We hope we will start to see that and to come very soon. I don't think it's going to be quick, though. It's a fundamental change. And so we will keep abreast of that, and we will be part of that lobbying over the coming months to make sure that our voice is heard in that. So how have we had to adapt to running PTA as a business during this time? Well, we've needed to stay closer to you, because everything that we know about running this business, and you will agree, and everything you know about running your businesses, was thrown up in the air when we went into lockdown. And it was a matter of almost relearning how to run things. We've learned that we need to be really flexible and agile, and, you know, make the most, keep looking for those rainbows and stars, those opportunities that will give us the opportunity to earn some of those, you know, some of our losses back. We need to, though, accept that it is going to take some time, to get the files sitting correctly because of the poor administration from many of the suppliers who you would have thought would have been leading the way with their operations and their administration. And until that point, it's been all hands on deck. So you'll know that when we get the commission run every month, it's all hands on deck. You've been getting calls from people that you wouldn't normally speak to about your commissions. And I think we've just tried to be agile and focus on where our time and attention is needed at any one point in that given week or month. So you will remember now, part of staying close to you guys, we issued the PTA Pulse survey a few weeks ago now, and that was, you know, for us to really get to the bottom of how you are feeling. An anonymous survey, 143 of you completed it. Thank you very much. It was really important that you did that. And I guess we need this because it's very easy, particularly if you're in the virtual office, to sometimes think the world is coming to an end, or, you know, it's because it's an emotional arena, isn't it, sometimes? And it's very easy to think, well, because this happened on this thread happened on the virtual office, this is what the situation is, when actually, when you look at it, you've probably only got 5 or 10 people included in that thread. So we needed to be able to sense check, well, would that thread for 5 or 10 people, does that reflect everybody's views and people that don't use the virtual office? So this is why the PTA Pulse survey results are really important to us. And we've used these results to form what we do in this conference and the sessions that we've included to try and steer everything going in the right way. And I think, you know, if we look at during this time, you know, our biggest priority during this time has been to support you. And that's why I know we keep saying it, but if there's anything that is, you know, that you're finding that you need more support with, then you do need to, you know, let us know. Interestingly, and it came up as a question on our morning session this morning, so so I will answer it now. We had the question from one of our PTAs, have we lost many PTAs during this time? And the answer is we've lost 11 PTAs during this time, during the last 6 months. But it may surprise you that actually in the same 6 months last year, we lost 11 PTAs. So it's exactly the same as last year, and it doesn't appear that the pandemic has prompted people to leave the business altogether, even though a lot of you during that time have had days where I'm sure you just want to hang up your travel hat and go and find, you know, a job that's really easy and to do, because it has been tough. But we're not seeing people leave, and in fact we are, and we will continue to recruit new, as always, quality members into our business. Interestingly, we had 2 new starters join us in September, and sorry, not September, we're in September now, in August. And it's interesting when you have individuals without the weight of the last 6 months, so they haven't been through that washing machine of emotion and turmoil. They've just started their business from scratch, new to home working, but bags of retail and travel experience. And they are making bookings on a regular basis every week. They've not had weeks where they've not done bookings in their first 4 weeks. And I think that's a really good indicator of what is possible. And it's really important that we recognise that even though there's a big black cloud hanging over because of the last 6 months, there is some sunshine behind it. It's just a matter of how we get there. So what else are we doing to adapt and in running the business? This actually came from a question into our homework board by one of our PTAs a few months ago now. We've been looking at the detail behind it ever since. We are going to move our PTA, your commission payments, to be paid after departure. So whereas at the moment it is within 8 weeks before departure, you will know as well as we do that what that has done is created an awful lot of in and outs on your commission statements that makes everything really complex. So we're in the final stages of putting the plans together for the rollout of this. The one thing I do want to be really super clear on though is by doing this, what we don't intend to do is remove any income that is coming to you. So if you know, in that 8-week gap of putting the change in, if you did, for example, a late booking, if you wanted to be paid on that, we will work with you to do that. We're not going to cut off any of your income. We will work with you to make sure that you do still get the earnings if indeed you need them. And what this will do in the long term, of course, is it will mean that commission statements are bang on. There's no toing and froing, and it make everything an awful lot easier to understand. The way that it will unfortunately work is that all new bookings, when at the point we launch it, so everything's as normal at the moment, but all new bookings will be paid after departure that you load, but the bookings that are already on will be paid under the current terms and the sort of the 8 weeks before, and the reason for that is because the system is set and you can't change bookings retrospectively. So so those are the plans as far as commissions. We'll be really clear about what we're doing and when as we progress through the next couple of months, and keep you fully informed on that. And just to reiterate, there is no reason for anybody to worry about that with earnings. It's merely just an opportunity for us to get everything in line and do that properly, so it's sitting right for the future. So some other changes. So if you remember, normally every month we have sales leagues, we have the steering wheels, and we need all our files to be sitting correctly for that to, for us to be issuing public figures for everybody. And I think it's really important that we could issue league tables, we have all the information there, but it only takes 1 or 2 files not to be sitting quite right, and that league table changes considerably. So we've taken the decision not to issue league tables for this year, the remainder of this financial year, nor the steering wheel, because we need to make sure files are sitting correctly before we do so. What we will do, however, is communicate with you individually on where your figures are, so you'll start getting individual updates, but you'll be able to then look at that and think, well, I think that's probably about right, or you'll be able to think, I know that I've got 2 big files actually that need changing or administering, and that will be different, but you will know your own bookings and your own files. A piece of work that we'd already started on as well was changing the PTA steering wheel. And that was from feedback that we've had over sort of 18 months to 2 years. That piece of work was already in place before the pandemic hit. And that will change now from the beginning of next financial year to the PTA passport. It will be similar, but slightly different. And that will be launched closer to the end of the year once we've got everything in place. We're working with the Home Worker Board on that closely as well. The Commission Builder scheme remains in place. So there are already 3 people that are over the 40,000 and have started qualifying for Commission Builder extra payments. So but of course, because of the way the figures are sitting, we will have to audit that very closely at the end of the year, but we'll keep in touch with individuals with your own figures on that as well. Conferences, chillvips and get-togethers. I mean, gosh, haven't we missed our annual conference this year? We were all ready to head off to that beautiful, gorgeous 5-star luxury Lujo in Turkey, and sadly it wasn't to be. And I think, God, I know everybody like me is just yearning, getting together, sharing a few drinks, celebrating survival, isn't it? And getting back into the groove with conferences and chillvips and get-togethers. We will resume as soon as we safely can. For conference for next year, whilst we're trying to rearrange Lujo, they're being very non-communicative. You can imagine it's not at the top of anybody's list at the moment. It's a bit of or deemed as a luxury for hotels and tour operators right now, but we're staying focused on it, and as soon as we have any information we will let you know. Same with chillvip as well. We've got our eyes on our December road shows that we normally do, and whether or not we will be able to do them in smaller groups around the country and maybe get out and be more local. If we possibly can, then we will do. We've got the dates blocked off, and we know how important it is that for some of you to get out and see each other face to face. So depending what happens in the next few weeks, we're going to have to be flexible with our approach on these, but we will do our best to do something in December. But in the meantime, we've got, Claire's been doing a great job out there negotiating with the tourist offices for small bespoke trips. So we had the 2 Spanish ones that were due due to happen. Unfortunately, because of the quarantine situation, got cancelled, but they're still there. As soon as Spain starts opening up, they're still there and ready for us to get people booked onto. Speaking to the Portuguese Tourist Office, and as you know, we've got a really strong affiliation with Malta, you know, from this year. And Claire has agreed some places on a VIP trip to Malta for next spring. So hopefully, you know, that will take place, and some of you will enjoy that. So I think what we will do is these smaller trips in the meantime. We'll do challenges to get onto them, and you know, and hopefully get some of you away together, experiencing and flying and feeling the sun on your face. It's just, you know, we have to tread carefully as far as the big conferences go, but there's an absolute desire to get back there, and won't that be the conference to end all conferences? I'm sure it'll just be absolutely phenomenal. So now there's the facts for you, and I hope in that you found some surprises, because it's easy to think doom and gloom, isn't it? Because it's in the press, and you know, and particularly, you know, it's easy to think it when you're not earning much, and you're spending all day administering bookings for no return, and you know, but I think it is important now that we look forward. I think the time to panic has now passed, and we at least know what we're doing with files. We know the processes that happen. You know, we're getting there. We're so close to being there on top of everything as far as refunds are concerned. And now's the time to look forward and create what we're calling our PTA normal. And this is where we emerge as the true professionals that we are. Now, some of you have got part-time jobs, you've got full-time jobs, you know, to help, you know, pay the bills. We absolutely get that. We will support you 100% if you need help in balancing both of those off. But equally, there are opportunities to earn, and to earn quickly. And we are seeing this. This isn't our optimism. This is fact, what we're seeing every week. PTA's earning from late bookings. So it is, you know, it is something that we now need to look at the PTA normal and think, you know, we can either sit and wait for another 6 months, which we don't want to do, or we can start creating our story, can't we, and actually making things happen the way we want them to happen in our businesses. The key areas I'm going to talk to you about is listening to customers, so we know that we need to listen to them. Our surveys prove that. I'm going to show you the latest survey results in a moment, and they're hugely encouraging. We need to remain visible with customers. We need to be super efficient, and with changes and amendments, etc. We need to keep looking for those opportunities. We'll talk about that. We need to look super slick in front of our customers, reset our clocks, and most of all, not be alone in all of this, because we are all, in the end, Team PTA, aren't we? So let's have a look at the first area of the new PTA normal, and that is listen to our customers. And a lot of you have shared recently the survey that Kiri developed, which was the second survey of this pandemic. It went out with 13 questions. 81 of you had customers who responded, so thank you to every one of you who's shared that. And we had over 1,000 respondents. Now that's actually quite a milestone. Once you get over the 1,000, any survey is recognised as a proper survey. So to get over the 1,000 is really important. So we're delighted to have done that for the second time, in addition to what we did, the survey that we did at the beginning of the pandemic. And we were interested in some of those 13 questions to understand, you know, how our customers answered then and how they answered now, and compare those to get a feel for, you know, how they're feeling about travel and holidays in general. So I'm going to share with you just some of the headlines. We will do a separate communication which shares all of the detail, but this is just some of the headlines. So first off, have you missed out on a holiday this year due to COVID-19? 84% of the respondents said yes, I have. So that's 84% that are sitting there that have either rebooked already, or they are sitting there with hopefully their refund in their bank account and waiting to pounce at the point that the skies are safely open or there's something that takes their fancy. And you know, so it's really great that that was so high in a lot of ways. And then really interestingly, we asked, will you change your holiday abroad to a UK holiday over the next year? Because we wanted to get a feel for, you know, if everybody's going to stay in the UK, we need to be ready for this. We need more stock. We need, you know, we need to adapt our business and adapt our training, adapt our support and everything. And actually, really encouragingly, so 22% said, yes, I will stick to staying close to home and book a UK holiday. But actually 56% not only said, I'm going to do a UK holiday, but I'm also going to do an overseas holiday as well. So there's 56% was still sitting here saying, I'm going to take 2 breaks. That's, you know, that's what I'm going to do. And then 20% said, no, I'm still going to go abroad. So I think if you look at those results, you've got a really clear opportunity to, you know, you've got 76 people of 76% of respondents are saying they're going to go abroad, but of that 76, 56 will also do a UK. That's really important when with your customer conversations, when you're talking to them about their overseas. Ask them the question, are you planning on going, doing a break in the UK as well? Did you know I can do that? You know, it's just finding those leads in all of the time, isn't it? But hugely encouraging that you could potentially get 2 sales out of those customers rather than just the 1. If we then look at some more of the detail of what types of holidays people are hopefully, you know, are hoping to travel on, this is where we had some direct comparisons with the survey that we did at the beginning of the summer. And increasingly and unsurprisingly, an increase of 37% of respondents want a UK holiday versus our last survey. So don't forget, a lot of those are going to go abroad as well. But so the increase in the UK is really coming through loud and clear. And you know what you need to do, guys, to prepare for that. You know, when we do training sessions with people who have UK product that you've maybe not sold before, open your minds, join them, up your product knowledge, make sure you're advertising UK offers, and you will get, you know, you will maximise the opportunity that is presented by that. But we've also got a 16% increase in people who wanted to go on beach holidays in Europe. And I guess that's not necessarily surprising in that Europe is the main place that people are travelling to at the moment, but it's an increase nonetheless. And so you can see you've got these you've got these respondents who want to go, they want to feel the sun on their face, and they do want that beach holiday in Europe. Who are they going to travel with? Travelling just with a partner or friend has increased by 11%, so suggesting that at the beginning of the pandemic people were sort of going to travel in larger groups, and it suggests now that they're going to travel in slightly smaller groups, maybe in their bubbles. And self-catering has increased by 11% based on the last survey, but as did all-inclusive. So you've got that you've still got the all-inclusive brigade who want to go and manage their budgets, and you know, and you've still got a good chunk of people wanting to do that, but self-catering is really coming through strongly now as well, where I guess people just want to be able to manage the cleanliness. They don't want to, you know, use buffets, all that kind of thing. So you can see why self-catering, you know, would become an attractive option for some. And then this next slide is the one that I am going to print and put on the wall. And for those days where you're on that Corona coaster and you're on that dip and you just need reminding that it will get better again, because question 13 was, will your budget towards your holiday change? 79% of respondents said no. And I don't think we'd have ever guessed it was going to be that high. It was really, you know, that is really encouraging. 13% are saying, I've got to read this now because it's in the small print, they are going to reduce their budget slightly. 6% are going to actually pay more. They're the ones that are going, do you know what, if I've forfeited a holiday this year, I'm going to spend more on it and do a really nice one next year. But for those times when, you know, maybe you see all the headlines on the news, don't you, could be forgiven for thinking nobody's going to have any money for the next year, nobody's going to travel. These are real customers telling us what their feelings are, and 79% are saying they're going to maintain the same budget for their holiday in the future. And then finally, question 14, which is the absolute gem in here. Are you more inclined to book with a travel agent now that going on holiday has changed? Meaning, of course, that now it's more complicated, would you book through a travel agent? And 79% of the respondents said yes, they are more likely to book through a travel agent now that going on holiday is more complex. Interestingly, and really encouraging again, of those respondents who said on the survey they normally book online, 58% of those actually now said that they will book with a travel agent going forward. So that's the online guys who probably had customers who haven't had the service, haven't been able to get through on the phones. Chat has been their best option and they've had to wait hours for that. They haven't had refunds in a timely fashion, haven't been able to speak to people about it. They are firmly now saying that, you know, they are going to start looking at different channels. And this is where you guys, it's your world, isn't it? You're great at what you do. You're great at caring for customers, and there's never been a time where customers want caring for more than they do now. If you think back to what Phil and what Rad said, you know, the industry is going to take time to recover. You know, right the way through to 2024, but we don't need the industry to be back at the volumes that it was originally at as a whole industry. We just need to increase our share of it, and you will all have opportunities individual to you to be able to do that. So those are the results of the top line results of the customer survey, the most recent one in the last couple of weeks. And that really just endorsing that we need to keep listening to customers, and we will now use this information in what we do moving forward with supporting you with your marketing assets. So another part of the new PTA norm was to be visible to your customers. So, you know, we can see that loads of you are engaging and sharing the surveys, you're sharing the offers, but equally there's lots of you that aren't. And if you're doing Kiri and Donna's marketing session this week, in the next couple of days, you'll hear about how to reintroduce yourself, how to feel confident again about marketing to your customers. So use these surveys, be visible to your customers, subscribe to Muriel, share the Muriel offers, talk constantly in your post about how much you're caring for your customers, because that is really important right now. Offer your customers those personal video consultations, and I know a lot of you are sort of, oh no, I could never do it. Jan sort of tamed her tiger last week and did her first one, and that went really well. And if you're doing Mr. T's section on unleashing the power of unleashing the power of teams in the next 2 days, that will be one of the areas that he will cover off, so that you can confidently say to customers, look, you've been using Zoom all this lockdown, how about we actually meet face to face, and I can show you some videos, I can show you some pictures. Makes selling a holiday so much easier. So be visible, talk about your partnership with Co-op, because there's never been a better time to be part of a trusted brand, has there? And what we keep, you know, what we've said, Rad said it, Phil said, be loud, be proud, and just, you know, puff your chests out, get out there and be the great personal travel agents, you know, that you are. To help you with being visible to your customers, we are going to operate Hootsuite free rather than the normal monthly subscription for the remainder of this year. So you will get an email from Kiri into next week, which you will need to subscribe to this and say, yes, I want you to do this. And of course, for those of you who haven't used it before, Hootsuite is where you know, Kiri can do the posts on your behalf, and she'll do all the nothing to do with sales, and offers. It's all about your service and your unique selling points as a personal travel agent, and to keep those dripping through on your Facebook pages, really super important during this time. So the next area of the PTA norm as we look forward is being efficient, and that's been really hard to do, hasn't it, in the last 6 months. Like I said, we didn't know what an RCN was at the beginning of this. We didn't know what to do with our files. We didn't know how to get through to suppliers and what to do, and there's jot forms flying around everywhere. You could be forgiven for the odd meltdown, and you know, it's really hard to navigate your way through. If we look back to the PTA Pulse survey, those of you that responded to that on this section about how confident you felt about what was going on in the industry, the message that came through really strong on that was, don't beat yourself up and don't try to know everything, because you're not going to use all that knowledge. So you've got the mothership, you've got the COVID event in the virtual office, but stop trying to remember every detail. When you get your customer and your booking that you need to sort, look at where they're going, look at the tour operator and start from scratch on each one. You've got all the information at your fingertips. It's then just a matter of, on a booking by booking basis, making sure that you're going to the right places. That was the advice that came through, you know, really strongly from yourselves, from the comments that you put in the Pulse survey. So the next part of the PTA norm is that constantly looking for stars and rainbows, those opportunities out there, because when you started your business, if you cast your minds back, for some of you that's recently and for some of you that's a long time ago, you looked at what the opportunity was in your local area. It might have been when you started your business, you had a Thomas Cook branch. It might have been, you know, since then you've got 2 or 3 home workers in your area with different organisations that have become competitors. So, and it could be today that Thomas Cook branch has either moved to a Hayes branch or has closed altogether. It could be that some of the home workers in your area that are your competitors have shut up shop, which we've seen, you know, in other companies, some do. So it's almost like going back to basics, and there'll be a bit of this in Claire and Carol's sessions over the next couple of days, where, you know, it's just starting, but let's start with that blank sheet of paper again. What is your competition now? Are there opportunities for local collaborations? Because more than ever, small businesses are helping each other. So your hairdressers or your beauty therapists or your osteopaths or whatever, who everybody was in the same ship. Everybody is trying to recoup their losses, and this is where really strong collaborations could potentially come in. And it's worth just revisiting those friends and family who need a great travel agent. Everybody will have somebody they've spoken to who's had the conversation with them about, we couldn't get to go on holiday and we couldn't even get through to this company on the phones. And those people are just going to be ripe for picking, and will be looking for that you know, that service and that care from a personal travel agent. The next part of our PTA norm is looking slick, and if you are already using T-Profile or if you are signed up to Kiri or no, sorry, not Kiri. If you're signed up to Claire's sessions over the next couple of days, you'll be learning how to build beautiful quotes on T-Profile. And it's times like this where you maybe haven't got as many inquiries, that you know, dedicate that time to say, the inquiries that I am getting, let's really spend time and curate some amazing itineraries for my customers and put them onto beautiful quotes, so I really stand out and increase, you know, conversion because of that care and how things look. You need to make sure you're hot on the PTRs, and the T-Profile will help with that. We had a really good session last week on the PTRs. We've got another one on Friday, and of course the new process comes into play next Monday. So you will need to make sure that you've had a look at that before that point. And then the one thing that is new that you will hear about in Anna's sessions over the next 2 days is the new pre-departure letter, which explains to your customers what they need to do, and who, you know, what information they need to look at prior to travelling. We've also got, as part of that, the new ABTA guide to travelling, which has got bags of information in, and all of that will be sent as standard from the admin team when your customers' tickets are getting sent. So you won't need to do anything other than, maybe I would suggest, ring your customers to make sure they've had it, and then make sure that they to make sure that they are following the advice that is contained in what's being sent. Talked also about resetting the clock, and I think this for me is about remembering why we're in travel, and that's really hard to do after the last 6 months. Sometimes I get that. I think you wouldn't be human if you'd had your doubts about the industry. But what makes your heart sing about doing this job? What are the bits that make you think, God, I've so made the right decision. I love this business and I love this industry. And it's about revisiting that, isn't it? And you've got an opportunity now to hit the reset button on your time. So you can bring in more time for life, general, family, and doing the things that you want to fill your time with, but also make time for what you love about your business. Because for the last 6 months, you've been sitting at your desk from not even 9 o'clock. Probably some of you have been like there for, let's say, from 6 a.m. each day. Some of you right the way through till 2, 3 in the following morning, dealing with anxieties of customers and challenges and lack of refunds. And that's what you've spent your time at your desk doing. So you can understand how you would feel like you've been through the mill. And now it's about actually trying, in my view, to structure your days. Have that 9 a.m. planning meeting with yourself every morning and actually set aside some time. So say, right, between 9 and 12 each day, I am going to do my admin and I am going to do my schedule changes. Let's say for summer 21, I need to speak to those customers. But once I hit 12 o'clock, I'm going to stop and I'm going to carry on the following day. And from 12 o'clock onwards, I'm going to focus on stuff that makes my heart sing, on the stuff that I love doing, on connecting with my customers, on advertising to them, on curating those amazing adventures for customer inquiries, and making time to sell holidays and earn money. You can't dedicate all your time, all of the time, to the admin and the customer care. You've got to look after those customers, but restrict, would be my advice, the time that you do that, and try to introduce now those hours where you focus on more positive parts of your day. And then finally, in the new PTA norm, it's don't be alone. I think, as I said before earlier on in this session, we've seen some amazing acts of kindness and camaraderie in Team PTA in the last few months, and I think we are really strong as a team. I'm hugely proud of everybody and to be part of it. What we want to do is take that one step further for those of you who want to, and we're going to start some weekly drop-in sessions based on the year that you joined us. That's the start point, so nothing more than that. So there'll be a class of every year. There'll be a drop-in hour once a week for you to drop in and just share and talk and ask questions. We'll be there to mediate and take any questions away or answer any questions that you've got. If you as a team say, do you know what, we need more information on that, or we'd like a training on this, or we'd like to revisit this next week, we'll go away and do that for you. And this is just us getting you down into smaller groups and therefore tailoring some of the support. Like I said, it's not compulsory, it's completely optional to you, but I hope you'll all at least join, maybe the first one or the second one to see what it's about and make your decision on whether or not you can feel, this will help you moving forward, because nobody should be doing this alone. So that's the PTA norm, and I hope there's some stuff in there, guys, that you will find helpful as we move now into this next phase of reviving businesses and moving towards that all-important thrive when when everything does, the skies open and everything gets back closer to normal. Before we do that, and finally on this session today, just to talk about some of the incentives that are coming up between now and Christmas. So, you know, monthly maintenance charges, you've all got the opportunity to earn those back in September. We're going to continue with these, you know, with a similar sort of approach for October, November, December. And every month you'll have certain, you know, maybe a selection of 5 and 3 boxes to tick in order to earn your maintenance free. And that's because we want you to keep engaging. We want you to stay close to your business. After all, this business is you. It's all about you getting back into the chair and starting to sell holidays again. So we want to encourage you to do that. And by doing, you know, by having qualifying criteria for free monthly maintenance, that will, we hope, help. And then finally, we're going to embark on a Christmas spin to win, which will be a weekly prize that our wheel will be filled with lots of gifts, accepting that, you know, in the last 6 months, the last thing you've probably had is any money to spend on yourselves. So we're going to do some nice little treat prizes. And vouchers and prizes that we hope will mean something to you. There'll be a weekly spin to win, and we'll change the criteria on that, and then we'll have the grand pre-Christmas draw with some, you know, big prizes that everything will lead into. So more information will come out on that next week, and I hope that you'll find that just a little bit of fun, and you know, by doing more bookings you will have more entries and more opportunities to win. So that's the end of this session. We're now going to go into, you know, the Q&A part of the session. So I'm hoping that Jason, you are around, and we've got a few questions, have we?
I am around, and we haven't got any questions, believe it or not. Nobody
oh my goodness, we had loads
questions
this morning.
I know. So if anybody does have any questions, please post them in the chat, which you can find on your panel bar, and we'll be able to answer those straight away for you.
Yes, or indeed put your hand up if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ask it. So we must have done about 20 minutes on questions this morning, so we had lots coming. But in fairness, the questions from this morning I've now incorporated into this afternoon's session. So hopefully we've answered a lot of the obvious ones. So, oh, that looks like a question.
Oh, can we get a promo of doing video presentations? What do you mean, Helen? Sorry, do you mean like a video to show you how to do them, or?
No, just if we're going to do some, I'm thinking about talking to some people about ski,
yeah,
or talking about holidays, talking about what's booking, just talking to people doing it and then putting it up. I don't know how to do that exactly, but also how to offer video, you know, consultations.
Yeah. So Helen, you would be superb at this. You know, I think, you know. I go back to the point. I go back to the point on Chilvip 2014 when we were in Canada, and we were on the coach going between our resorts. We were off to Banff, I think, between Banff and St. Louise. Yeah. And I said, Helen, do you want to just get the microphone and have a chat? And you talked all the way about all your wonderful knowledge about the area, and it was so I know you've got the ability to have those conversations and come across really well. So I think yeah, you're absolutely right, Helen. I think you could have customer events online where you could invite them in, and you could get a tour operator to come and join you, for example. Or you could do one-to-one sessions with your customers, all of which you will learn how to do in Jason's session. So I'm hoping you're signed up for that. If you're not, then if you drop Stacey an email, and then she will be able to add you on.
Nigel and I have taken the week off to do our conference.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it.
I'll do drinks tonight as well.
Yeah, I will join you there. So you will get more information in Jason's session on that. I think the trick is, and we've had to learn it obviously to do these conference sessions and learn it, you know, how to operate. It is easy. It's easy once you've done it a few times, and so you can practice with each other. You know, I think that's the key. You'd set it up, send it to a couple of your buddies, or send it to your own sort of personal email addresses and join from that and see how it works. Do a couple of practice runs and it'll become second nature. But to answer your question on assets as well, yes, that is the plan, that there'll be an asset that says, you know, get in touch now for video appointments, etc., so that you can promote that as well.
Okay.
Julie Kenyon, did you say there will be some sort of chill VIP at some point, and will it be at Butlins?
Oh, do you know what, Julie? We're not intending to do it at Butlins.
But we may well have to.
So I think Chill VIP will be, yes, our plan is that everybody who got onto the class of 2019 that should have been travelling this year will be the ones to travel in 2000 and it will be the ones to travel next year if we get a Chill VIP up and running. Of course, we need the destinations to collaborate with us. We also need tour operators for sponsorship as well. So we're absolutely trying to get that done. Could it be the UK? I suppose never say never. If somebody came to us with a nice spa break or something like that and we could get everybody to go, then yes, we would probably take that at this point in time. But yes, it's our intention that everybody who got that invitation that hasn't managed to travel on Chill VIP this year, we will do something. And then when the new PTA passport comes into play from the beginning of next year, then that will feed into the trip that goes in 2022. That sounds like a long way off, but time flies so quickly, doesn't it? So
Sheridan's asked, this is from Sheridan, do we get a copy of the ABTA letter that will be sent to clients with tickets?
You do. We'll provide that to you. We'll send, so if you join Anna's session, we'll have the letter and also the ABTA document. You'll all get a copy of what that looks like, so you can sound confident when you're talking about it with customers. The ABTA document's actually really, really good.
Unfortunately, Sheridan can't put us all up. She's only got 14 rooms and no spa.
Well, we could probably do 6 a room, maybe, Sheridan.
Or she's not got a charger for my car, so I can't go.
Well, that's it then.
Phil Hindle spotted Anna chewing away there on something, I think. What have you been munching on, Anna? Not saying a word. And that's it for questions.
Super. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope you found it worthwhile and it's been a good kick-off to your virtual conference experience. You know, do over the next 2 days, I'd urge you to join those panels. I think they're going to be really interesting. And obviously you've got your sessions. You've got your sessions booked out for the next 2 days as well with the individual sessions. But thank you again from all of us. It really is now time for us to start writing this PTA normal and making sure that we start to revive these businesses and start earning again, the most important thing. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Have a brilliant 3 days. I'll be popping up in some of those sessions, so we'll see some of you then, and we'll speak all again soon, folks. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
We sang at this point, didn't we? So long.
We did.